Alright, there we go. I'm just gonna start recording now. I was trying to set up my audio today, and this is just me trying to animate something I had worked on and roughed out. It was fascinating. I will say, I made my brush settings different for this, more to mimic a pencil, and the way I did that really was, I angled it at 45 degrees, and I have tilt on. Um, and I have a lot of other settings. I really wanted something consistent that felt more like using a pencil. That's why I did this. Because, like, I think for me, the consistency is, like, something I want to hit. And I have another brush for, like, ink work stuff, but this is purely to be consistent and, set things up. Well, the animation is quite fun. It's my moose guy, like, jumping into the camera. And this is work in progress. But yeah, like, I noticed how I draw with a pencil. Also, like, deliberate lines is something I kind of made this brush for, too. Like, there's a difference in pen pressure when you're using a pencil, where you push down on it versus being light, that I kind of wanted to mimic. Because I feel like the variability of the angle, which I noticed was like 45 degrees on my pencil, like a mechanical pencil, and the amount I press down on if I'm doing like really like, what's the word I'm looking for? Thought out lines, like they're inherently thought out and they're deliberate. Tends to be around this size. So like I have enough variability to have like light sketches, kinda, and then enough to do more consistent line work. I think I have one more frame to do. I'm not too happy with these hands, but it looked fine in the motion. Let's see what I do here. Oh, I kind of splay them out. I don't know. Kind of bubbly. They're kind of weird looking. That's one of the reasons I don't quite like it. Also, what did I do here? Oh, I didn't even do that on the other fingers. It's just this finger for some odd reason. I'd probably just redraw them. I'd draw them moving out a little bit more. At least this front one. Like it's being stretched. I don't know. This seems like I did something super odd. Or I could punch it down more. I think it'd be silly. I feel like that'd be the other portion of the hand. Yeah. I might have to redraw that. That's weird. What did I draw here? Like, looking at it, I wouldn't draw the hand like this now. And also, I realized, like, drawing really light helps me better. Like, if you see the underdrawing, like, that's the original animation. And, like, now that I have more clarity from, like, redoing this, like, several times, I think it was, like, 3 times now, to make sure it, like, looked smooth. This would be the 4th. I'm realizing how important the layout stage is, and I like it. Because if I want to do particularly good work, like I want to be able to lay it out quickly and then clean it up over and over again to make it polished if I can. Yeah. This did some weird things here. All in all, though, I may start teaching in like a couple streams of this more. Not like real live streams, because I'm not cool, and also that's bandwidth. But hopefully, me talking and explaining things should suffice. I really wanted to do educational material on like the history of comics and stuff, but maybe it's just better to have my thoughts on these more deliberate videos where I think through things. Because my whole argument about the history thing is like, I saw a video by Strip Panel Naked that surprised me, and it was particularly about comic strips and the 9-panel grid. And what fascinated me was that combined with the history of Will Eisner and Jack Kirby kind of showed a interesting light into the history of comics and animation in general, because Jack Kirby worked at Fleischer Studios from my knowledge, looking at the history, and Will Eisner started comics after comic strips, and then there's a combined history with Pulp Fiction, so like they're all intertwined to where this kind of amalgamation created comic books, and then comic books to some degree in my mind go into animation and the fact of like in the way of storyboards, because it seems like a natural development to make animation cheaper to lay out. So I see like a kind of similar history across the board of how they've developed and certain ways that they use the same kind of languages. It's not that they do use the same language necessarily, but it's very similar. And I think that is, above all else, what fascinated me about the history of comics and animation and stuff like that. That, as well as the business side, because you learn a lot about the kind of terminology that they use or the business stuff that they do. And the stuff that they used to do back in the day is also wildly fascinating. And I don't agree with all of it. That's actually the point of watching it, is understanding where they may have fallen, or like what they succeeded at. All these different histories of animation and comic books and even movies. Although I'm not a huge movie buff yet, I probably should learn some of this stuff. I'm just more interested in animation overall, even though I know it's heavily referenced sometimes from movies or pop culture. But yeah, and I'll play this once I'm done inking this. I might just start recording these, even for myself, and then release them slowly after some small editing over a week. I'd like preferably want to try hitting like this is like every week if I can help it. I'm not too sure that'll happen, but it gives me like enough time to like do other things and also focus on this to some degree. But yeah, another side tangent, because it is a tangent, that I've been thinking about is long-term goals in time and how much it influences how we look at the world. That is fascinating, and a lot of this goes back to even some business questions I didn't fully understand, and I don't know if the business people get it when they hear it, but the idea of like where you're going to be in 10 years or 20 years or something is it's not just a question for the time. It's more like, do you have a game plan figured out, and will that influence your decision making? I think that is the more fascinating psychology behind that question that I never comprehended until recently, and why it is kind of important. And it's not even just for the business; it's for your own life, and that is the kind of knowledge that I found out of that I ingested. Like I kind of took to heart, and I was like, yo, now I need to like do this. Like, where do I want to be? What do I want to be doing? Who do I want to be talking to? What do I want to have set up? And I think it was one of those things that I kind of say like I'm uncovering things, or like I'm answering questions that weren't fully answered, or like not the question wasn't the correct question or whatever. This is more of those things where it's like I'm uncovering the deeper meaning behind what I saw in that question and idea, because it helps me move along in life. Maybe it'll do the same for you. I don't know. I'm not here to give you necessarily advice. But I found it fascinating because if you have an end goal, it kind of helps you structure your thoughts towards going towards one thing. And generally, this is like big, medium, and small, beginning, middle, and end in story narratives. And I realized in order to tell a good story, or in order to do things like that, having the end is like paramount to being able to do the direction, which is in the middle. So like in my mind, if I don't have an end point, I'm aimlessly wandering, and like that's fine to a degree. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think you learn a lot. But I think it's fascinating to know if you put an end goal somewhere, anywhere, you can like make moves to get there, even if it's not like the same moves that somebody else makes. And I think that's what I glean from history a lot, is like I get to look at all the moves that all these people made already, and it's history. So like it's been done before, and they made certain choices. I find that infinitely fascinating. Maybe not everybody does, but I think what I'm gonna do is just put these videos out and talk about some of these cool things and art topics that I've come across, while also just doing work, or like making things. And the whole, like, this is another tangent. I'll bring up another topic really quick and I'll stop and I'll go back to animation. But what another fascinating thing is putting in the work versus worrying about having things. And I think the end goal allows me to do that a lot more, and staying off of Discord, because I kind of believe we are inundated with information, and we don't like, it's about processing. It's not even the issue of information, it's about processing in my mind. And I take stints off Discord now in different places to process information and let it digest. And in my mind, this goes back to another business related thing that's fascinating, which is like, oh, well, I'll let you think on it for the night, or like a couple days, like a week or something. Get me an answer by blah blah blah. And that's where I think that kind of idea behind questioning comes from. Is like, you have to process what you just heard about getting a job or like a promotion or something. So call me back in a little bit. But like that last part I added to it isn't usually said, right? Oh, you have to process it, and I have to give information slower because I have all this information I want to share, and it's already processed by me, but other people have to digest it because it's quite a lot. I don't think it's anything special, but if it helps or interests anybody, I'm glad to share it. And I think it's cool, and it's my own YouTube channel, you know. So I'm gonna do it, and see what happens. That's the cool thing. I get to see what happens, and I love exploring certain topics. Art style wise, I personally, with the animation stuff, and animation stuff is tighter, right? But the solid drawing thing is what I was really getting at with this, is like the lines being particularly uh, deliberate and like tightened up and stuff. I'm gonna stop talking about the business or going on side tangents. Animation and line work are what I'm gonna talk about right now. And I've been working on becoming more deliberate with my line work, and I realize how much of a monster I am with the brush, which surprised me. Like how easy it is for me to get a good amount of detail with brush work. That was cool to know. So I've been really messing with tooling. Let me see if I can get the sketches. It was right here. So like this one was with brushwork and it looks pretty detailed. These ones were me messing with to get this brush the way it is for animation and stuff and consistency. But like I was really surprised how easy it was to get like really neat looking lines with these brushes. Consistency for animation, I don't think it's like the best. But if I were to do like say an illustration or something, like this is awesome. Like look at this. So much detail, so fun, so fine. In a quick amount of time. But for animation, I'd like something more consistent that feels like a pencil, actually, surprisingly. Because I prefer to draw with pencils, actually, the more and more I look at it. So, like, I'll just have an ink, like, tool that feels similar to a pencil if I can help it. So, again, it goes back to the 45-degree angle on my brush and stuff like that, and the pen tilt to make sure it feels a certain way when I draw with it. I've become less and less worried about how the brush looks and more about how it feels to use. And again, I don't think it dictates how you can draw. I could use any brush to draw. My issue is the feeling of it and how it feels to draw these lines or how to lay down things. And the deliberate action, I realize I put more pen pressure on, say, like a pencil than I have on digital, and like I've tried raising the sensitivity so like I have to apply less pressure, but I'm realizing part of that, a little part, because I don't want to damage my screen, of that pressure allows you to have very specific line work. And the way you do it influences the way that lines are. So like earlier on, I was using different brushes because in real life you can't really change your brush sizes very easily. It's just not a real thing. Like you can't just hit a scale button on your pencil. Although that would be funny. I can, however, have preset sizes, which is what I did. And you can set that up under clip settings right here if you have Clip Studio. And it has like little blips for indicator. I really like that as a tool because I can have consistent brush sizes. And no matter what, I'll be able to just blip back to like the bigger brush or the smaller brush. Like if you had micron pens, it'd be like, oh, well, I'm going to go to a size 9 micron pen versus a size 7 or like a size 5 or whatever. Like I think it produces a certain type of look to art because you can't incessantly change your brush sizes, and the pen pressure like a pencil allows me to have consistency in the brushes. So like even that, like it's very obvious if I'm using a bigger brush because the consistency is different. Or not, the size is different, but the consistency stays the same. So it's like, oh, the consistency isn't changing, but this brush is clearly bigger than the other brush. And that's what I picked up on with that. Why is this, what is going on here? Oh, this is the... Wait, what did I do? It seems that I may have added a frame, which doesn't need to exist. What did I do? Yeah, I did that. I don't know what I was thinking there. But, Yeah. And hopefully I can do a lot more skits, like little animated storyboards, or little things like this where they're not hugely animated, which it looks like this is animated a lot. It's only, I think, 8 frames in total, so it's very minimal animation work that produces a really good result. Because it's mainly keyframes. Like, if I wanted to be smoother, I could probably add more in-betweens, but it's not necessary. Unless I really want it to be that polished, and I can. What did I do here? I'm doing weird things. This is, I redraw what I mess up on. It's solely because this is not anything drawn in the line art that I have to like do this and be kind of figuring it out. Just, it's my fault. I didn't rough this in correctly. This is the part of my philosophy, is being able to think on the fly if need so. And this is just to use less brain power, and then also kind of be able to have decent looking stuff at the end. So if you can like work within like a tool set or toolboxes, or like have the room for flexibility, it's a lot easier to adjust. So like I do rough drawings like that too, and it makes it less taxing on my brain. So like it's why I can pull anatomy out of my head and stuff. Like I try to learn I learn so that I can use my brain less, actually, which is funny. Like I learn what is necessary, and then drop a lot of the rest if I don't need it, or like I try to keep it. I don't know, it depends. But I basically try to keep what's necessary to get the thing done efficiently and with less tax on my brain. That way I can, if I need to add detail or whatnot, I can always like use a reference or something. It's not a big issue. Yeah, that hand was something else. Why did I added like a weird curve here to his arm. It's for the bone, but I don't know how much I want to indicate versus like, because like this is a muscle right here. What I'm indicating right here is a muscle. I'm just not drawing it fully because I'm not trying to draw muscles on him entirely. Like, also, I'm trying to look at these legs and draw certain things. But yeah, I'm only trying to indicate the muscle. Like, if I wanted to draw out the muscle, like, I would actually draw out the bicep and stuff. And to prove it, because I'm a big old nerd. Right, I'm a big old nerd. You just do this. You'd have the bicep, you'd have the biceps brachii and stuff like that. It'd all be, like, right here. It's not biceps, right? It's brachialis. And then you'd have the, like, deltoid. And you have tricep back here. And you have the other muscles, like, shoot out from this corner. Right. Like, it's not... Like, if I wanted to actually draw the anime, probably I could. I was more going with a cartoony look to this guy. And I'll play it right now. Be entertaining. Because yeah. Basically he's falling in the camera. I was thinking about making this an intro or something. But for only like 8 frames, it plays pretty smoothly, which is the main thing. Is like using, for me, it's using keyframes economically, where it's like, what do you need to show the emotions? So like, the way I laid out the spacing and timing is important. So like this to this instantly, because I don't have a lot of frames in between, so it's just straight going there. And then this is just to like hold the pose longer. So he's like on the ground. And then boom, he jumps up, his head goes up, and then he's got to stay up here for a little bit because it's a little bit of hang time. And then boom, to then boom, like he's going to the each pose. And what you see is like this pose, and this one specifically, like he's holding the animation to make that tension more dramatic. Right, so like I could actually have him stay here longer and watch what happens to the animation. Right, like the tension of these like kind of breaks adds to the feel. Let's see if I can get it back to where it was. There we go. But yeah, it was rather entertaining to do. Maybe I'll do another one some other time. I don't know how long the video is. I should probably time these just to make sure. But yeah, this was entertaining. And now I have my animation ready for colors or whatnot. I'm still kind of iffy on some of these lines, but I'm trying to figure out the workflow to get consistent stuff that feels nice. And also I realized something from testing something else that I posted on Twitter was that the detail, like nobody picks up on, well, it's not nobody picks up on it. Like if you have two objects that are very similar with like very minute changes, like your brain doesn't pick up on the changes until you look really close at it. And this is something I noticed with big, medium, and small that fascinated me. Is the idea, like, let's say we got two guys. And I did this on a piece of paper before and showed my friend. But I'll do this really quick to make it so they're, like, almost identical. Right? So we'll have this guy. And then we'll have this, his brother. Right? They're twins. Right? But we'll, like, add slight changes. And like, you'll know the changes. Right? Because you're watching me do this. But they're like really minor changes that don't make you realize anything usually. Like if we have like two different types of eyebrows and they're both thick. And I also think this is why police sketches tend to have some things going on with them that's interesting. Is like when somebody calls a suspect or something, they have a description, but like the description applies to so many people. So like they kind of have to like call up a lot of people with that description. Because it does like it's not too precise. And I think this kind of stuff like shows me that more. Is like, oh, they're the same guy from far away. Oh, it's not like he's just, and if their eyebrows were more similar, like you'd be, oh, okay, like it's the same picture, I don't see an issue, right? I'm intentionally adding like slightly different things, but like I could do this instead. I can try to match them a bit, like shape-wise, not too much though. Yeah, and you can already see like they're different, but from far away, oh, they're the same. Oh, there's not much going on. Like, maybe the mustache is a bit different. But, like, it's odd how our brain picks up on that. And then if you go to, like, even details, which I was testing in animation, was the detailing thing. Like, can I do hatching lines that are in different positions? And the answer is yes. And the answer is that much detail just looks like noise. Right, so like they don't have to be exactly the same. And that surprised me more than anything else. Like if I do it on my moose guy, and I'll do it somewhere, actually I can't do it on my moose guy, I'm not gonna do it there. But basically like these hatch lines don't, if they're in one spot long enough, it doesn't matter. Like I'll I'll make a new one really quick and show it in like a side area. And I'll kind of like just add hatch lines to a ball. And as long as the like detail is kind of in the same area, and this surprised me, and the main shapes are the same or similar, like your brain is fine with it. And that kind of blew my mind. Because like that means I can move objects and I like have like all this detail on it if I felt like it. That didn't take too much effort, because I'm not stressing about copying the exact detail one for one. I am more trying to get it to be similar. And that was the thing that I found fascinating, that I could like get away with in animation. And hopefully this doesn't screw with my animation, but adding these frames and stuff. I guess I gotta get that, but... Yeah. But like, look at this. Look at how your eye like sees that detail. Like it sees it as similar, but they're completely different hatchings. And that's what fascinated me more than anything, is like, I'll have it all right here. I'll have to turn off the audio, but like, if you look at it, like your brain is connecting. Oh no, that's the same detail in place, but it's like 4 frames of the same drawing. And like, imagine if I was moving it, it would still retain that detail in your mind and imagery, because this is like texture of a fabric, or like the way that light is on an object. It's not as important what the detail is kind of like until you look closer. And generally it's not what your eye focuses on. It focuses on like the big shapes of the object, right? And then after that it's the medium details, and that is an important thing for me particularly to pick up on. So now I can do like, let's say we got a design on it of some sort, like a curve, right? Just as an example, I need to have it drawn. As long as that curve is the same or similar as like one of the bigger shapes, and this is where like drawing exact could come in. Oh, that wasn't even all the frames, see? Look at me. Look how smart I am. I'm gonna draw all the frames. That was only 2 of them. And your eye's still like adjusted, which kind of, again, shows my point, but... There. But like, look at that with all 4 frames. And your brain still... It picks up on that detail in the middle, where it's like, oh, there's a sash there of some sort. And it picks up the big ball shape. It's like, oh, it's a ball. But then the shadows don't need to be exact. And that's like, I don't know what you'd call this, but it allows for much more naturalistic, or not necessarily naturalistic, but like it allows for more variety and play within detail and animation in my mind, because you can have much more detailed animations with less effort, aside from the basic animation layout. So it can actually have quite a lot of detail in it, and that is what fascinates me about this technique more than anything. Is like, if I did this, well then I can have it like layered with different details, look amazing, and then it would be less effort for me to say do these hatch lines, because I'm not trying to stick to the same, I'm trying to stick to similar. And that was the whole point behind it, is like, it's similar, it's not the same. And it's something I think that's inherent in nature with us, is like, let's say you have cats, and 2 cats look the same. They're obviously not the same cat, though. Right? They're similar. Or like two people that, like, you have a doppelganger. Well, there's something off about their face. It's like it's not quite the same as yours. But they're similar enough. Like, that's my twin right there. Right? And I think it's interesting. I don't really care about the implications to society about that. That's not my issue. I care more about using it in art and making fantastic looking animation or comics and stuff like that. Like it's not about not producing quality work. It's more about like the level of consistency is mainly on the main big things, and the detail is what you can play with. And it can allow you to have massive amounts of detail and things looking consistent without them necessarily being exact. Like the drawings are the exact part, but then like the hatching and stuff isn't. Oh, I guess there's only 3 shadows. I guess I don't need the other one. There are only 3? What? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Is there another one? Did I miss the animation? No, it's only 3. I could have swore I had another frame. 3, 4. Oh, it's similar? It'd be right here, right? Yeah. Okay. And I'm just doing this again purely as an example to showcase the idea of like the detail that you pick up on. Like you're gonna notice the white stripe, and you're gonna know it's a blue ball, and your brain's fine with it. It's like that's a blue ball with a white stripe, and I actually have that over. There you go, right? And knowing it's a blue ball with the white stripe is more interesting to me. Especially far away, like your brain will just be like, yeah, no, it's a ball with a white stripe. Right? It's like, oh. Okay, cool. Right? Which is like, it's kind of nice to know. I see the white stripe. I see the ball. Oh, wait. Oh, the shadows aren't the same. Wait a second. Wait a second.